Hi, my name is Kim Vermark. I am the author of the book series, The Chronicles of Nadine, and welcome to How to Start Your Author Career. So if you are a brand new author, or even if you're an author who started and is really struggling to follow through, this is really the module for you. I always wanted to be an author, but I had a lot of fears inside me. And so what I did is I stalled and I procrastinated, and I had a whole bunch of reasons why I couldn't start. But essentially, it was just fear. And it was only when a fellow author who I was friendly with popped in to see me. She had a cup of coffee with me, and she walked me through some of the initial steps to let me overcome my fear. So today I'm going to cover what I have learned in this process and how it can help you. It means you're going to have to be open and honest to write down a couple of things about yourself and maybe share it with a friend or an author who can give you honest feedback, and then we can start your author career as well. So I'm going to jump straight to the slides so that we get the most productive time out of this. Let's go to our share. And there you go. So let's get straight up to the first module. So this course is absolutely for beginners. You need your notebook, a pen, and your mind, and we are going to be doing a little bit of homework, but don't be scared. There's not going to be a test at the end, and no one's going to come mark your work. So these are some of the things that we're going to cover in this module: working with your dreams, your little voice, what you're telling yourself, what beliefs are holding you back, reframing fear, sharing some personal memories, a motivational example, and some famous author criticisms, homework, and some rewrites. So here's the first thing. I want you to be able to connect with what your dreams are. What are your dreams? What anchors you? For me, I wanted to create stories naturally, but as an entrepreneur, I found that I was working so hard, such long hours, and creating positive outcomes for other people, but not always positive outcomes for myself. I knew that statistically, most retirement plans would run out of money before the person who had them ran out of years. And I also wanted to leave a legacy for my children. And naturally, as an author, I wanted to have a bestseller. What I realized is that if I had a catalog of books, they would always be selling at the current prices. So I would never have to worry about inflation because I would be earning at currency rates that were relevant for that time period in the future. And I could leave the royalties to my children. So I want to give you this quote, which really made an impact on me. Destiny is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. And today, you and I are going to step boldly into your destiny and manage our thought process to get the best outcome. So this book, Little Voice Mastery, is very, very well read in this home. I would highly recommend it for anyone, whether you are an author, a business person, a parent, because one of the things that I learned from this book is that somewhere inside us, there is a dream that can't be denied. It sounds a little bit like a big motivational speech that a president would have, but it really is relevant to your life because there's something unique about you. But in this book, he shared a couple of little voices, little negative voices that people have inside them that stops them from stepping into their destiny. And I'm going to share this with you. So some voices that new authors will hear is that, I don't know how to write a book. I'm too old. I can't. Who's going to read it? Nobody is going to like it. And who really wants to hear from me? Well, I want to tell you a small story about my grandfather. When I was little, my grandfather lived with us, and he was a very quiet man. I one day accidentally locked the door for their bedroom. I hadn't closed the door, but I put the wrong key into the lock, and then I couldn't unlock it again because it was the wrong key. So my grandfather sorted that problem out for me. He asked for my dad's toolkit, and then he actually got the lock sorted out. And he was my superhero for the day because I was terrified of what my parents would say if I had broken this lock. And he said to me, my girl, this lock is nothing for me because I was a prisoner of war. And I thought to myself, at the time, it didn't worry me, but I thought to myself when I was older, I would have loved to have heard that story. What did it mean? What kind of fear did he have to overcome in order to make that escape? That story would have inspired me when I was struggling as a new business owner, as a new author, to try and find courage. What did he do to develop his courage? Now, we've all got fears, and I'd like you to pause the video at this time and write down what are your personal fears that you have to overcome. Welcome back. Now, what did you tell yourself in that exercise? Take your thoughts and change them into ones that serve you. Yes, you are afraid, but try this affirmation. I am resourceful enough to learn the skills that I need to reach my dreams. And so I want to encourage you to pause the video here and to write something, just one line that can help you to manage your thought process to achieve your dreams. Now, there are a couple of questions that I'd like you to ask yourself. I want you to close your eyes and to listen to the sound of my voice. Imagine your life in 5 to 10 years as if there were no limitations at all. What do you want to be? What do you want to have? What do you want to accomplish? What is it that you want to create? You can pause the video and write down some of your observations. Now, I'm going to share a few personal memories with you. And the first one starts with a very silly song. It is from Ellerton Primary School in Cape Town. For those of you who are not from South Africa, that is a beautiful city at the coast in South Africa. And my mother went to primary school in Cape Town. We used to every December go and visit my grandparents there. And my mother would always sing a chorus from her school song. And I'm going to sing that chorus to you as well. Please forgive me, I am not a singer, but this is a really good illustration for you to see what can serve you. So the words go like this. Oh, Ellerton happy are we, under the sign of the anchor 3, we work and play at the school by the sea. Oh, Ellerton happy are we. Great, so I'm not going to give up my day job to become a singer, but my illustration is that I know the words of that song. They're programmed into me, but do they have any relevance in my life? Not at all. There are times that I sing the song to my mother and it makes her smile because it reminds her of when she was a girl, but it doesn't really serve me in any other way. Then there's my experience of cooking with gas. So I always had a fear of gas. I had a housemate and I would never switch the gas on because I was scared that I would burn myself. So every time we had a meal, my housemate switched on the gas. But one night I had a work function and my housemate also had a work function. I just happened to come home early and I had no clue what time my housemate would come home. So I had to switch on the gas by myself. Now, you might say, well, how can you possibly be scared of gas? But in the time that I had this experience, we didn't have self-igniting gas cookers. You had to strike a match, you had to put your head inside, and you then had to ignite the gas that way. So because I was scared, I only put the gas on a tiny, tiny bit. And what happened? Nothing. I realized that nothing was happening, so obviously it needed more gas. So I switched on the gas, I went for another match, I struck it, and then what had happened is that the gas exploded into my face. So what did that teach me? It taught me that my fear was actually the thing that hurt me. Because if I had taken the time to learn how to use a gas cooker, it wouldn't have happened. I would have equipped myself. And you can actually take the time to step into your future by learning a couple of basic skills that are going to help you. So my question to you is, what are the experiences in your life at the moment that are controlling your choices? And what are you giving up by holding on to those beliefs? So now we're going to work with a section to reframe our fear. Fear is essentially a fear of failure, which is a fear of shame. Now, you can use this fear to help you to produce the best quality that you can right now. Most authors fear that they won't be good enough. So use this fear to fuel you rather than to stop you. There are some tips. Use a free or paid professional editing software. Read a lot of books and ask yourself what is good or bad about the books. Find a courageous reading friend who will give you some honest feedback. And you can also find an editor. So I'm going to give you an example from Blair Singer's book. In it, he's got a man called Zosimatos. I have no idea if that's a correct way to pronounce it. So if you know this man, forgive me. He's a world-class professional triathlon athlete. And he has coached an 8-year-old to set the record for being the youngest person to swim from Alcatraz to San Francisco. That's approximately 2 miles or 3.21 kilometers. Now, when it's 4 o'clock in the morning and he wants to go for a bike ride, but it's cold and he doesn't want to get up, then he kind of tempted to stay in bed, which I'm often tempted to stay in bed when I need to write. My writing time is usually from 3 o'clock until 7 o'clock in the morning. And this particular message really helped me. He says, somewhere in the world, someone is practicing while you are not. And when you meet him, he's going to beat you. When you put yourself into a routine of practicing and writing, you will program your mind to be able to get into a place that's going to help you achieve your dreams. So let's look at it again. 4 o'clock in the morning. Give yourself a statement that's going to help you. Somewhere in the world, and this is what I say, someone is writing while you are not. And they're going to be a bestseller when you are not. So some people are motivated by the carrot and some people are motivated by the stick. But for me to be able to think that someone else is doing something that I'm choosing not to do really does motivate me. When I read this, I was more committed to getting into a routine of writing. So now we're going to cover author criticisms. And you're probably saying, oh my word. Let's go back to fear of failure. It is essentially a fear of shame. And I have to ask you this question before we jump into this section. How many companies would exist if we all had the same tastes in clothes and cars and books? Very few. There wouldn't be any job opportunities for people. There is a place for all types of authors, and even famous authors have critics. So let's have a look at these people. Before we jump into this section, I have to say to you, most of the authors, well, in fact, all of the authors that we're going to cover at the moment are people that I have had some experience with their books. 3 of the authors, I have read their books, and one of the authors I watched the entire series. In fact, I own the entire series in the DVD collection. My illustration is this. It doesn't matter that these people have earned millions and millions from their books. There are still people that are going to criticize them. So when you start, don't fear the criticism because it's going to happen. You've got to say, somewhere in the world, there is going to be someone who is going to want to read your books. Just like you are friends with some people and not with other people, don't let the fear of criticism stop you. I made it stop me for a very long time, and that was a mistake. My career could have been further along if I didn't worry about those criticisms. So let's jump back into our slides and have a look at these authors. Okay, the first one, very famous lady, J.K. Rowling. Joanne Rowling, better known as by her pen name J.K. Rowling, is a British author, screenwriter, producer, and philanthropist. The praise, she's best known for writing the Harry Potter fantasy series. She's won multiple awards and sold more than 500 million copies, becoming the best-selling book series in history. Here are critics. Someone said this about her. A 9-year-old might feel quite pleased with writing the Harry Potter books. It's pretty embarrassing coming from an adult. And I have put down the reference over here on how you can find this criticism. Wow, that's seriously harsh. Well, the books were actually written for younger people. So at the end of the day, it's written in a style that they will enjoy. But this author is incredibly famous. Imagine if she let someone like this critic stop her. She wouldn't have been able to get to that stage of billionaire status as an author. Here we're going to cover Roald Dahl. He's a British novelist, short story writer, poet, screenwriter, wartime fighter pilot, and World War II spy. Some of you didn't know that he was a spy. I found that very intriguing. Praise. Dahl was a genius at inventing words, and children could work out what they meant just by the sound of it. His books have sold more than 250 million copies worldwide. He's famous for the book Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which was made into a movie. And here is a critic. Wonka is a vegetarian and only eats healthy food, but he seduces children with sweets. It's highly immoral, she says. And here is the reference from where that came, just in case you thought I was making it up. Then Danielle Steele. Now, I've read Danielle Steele. We had an exchange student that stayed with us, and the first great romance that I ever read was a Danielle Steele. And there's one part in the book that actually still makes me cry when I think about it. In any case, Danielle Steele is a romance author. Danielle Steele has published more than 170 books. And they have made her, over a 4-decade career, sold 800 million copies worldwide. I copied and pasted. This is from a website. Early career was public relations and page. This person says, from the first page, I was captivated by the story. As normal, when reading a D. Steele novel, I became enthralled with this book and could not put it down. Now, here's a critic. Try writing a different perspective besides the woman with problems, or even deeper characters. I'm sorry, your books are so boring. Okay, 800 million copies sold. Here we go to Wilbur Smith. I read so many of his books when I was younger. Wilbur Addison Smith is a British novelist specializing in historical fiction. He's an accountant by trading and has sold 120 million copies, and these stats were in 2014, so obviously he sold a lot more by then. It says here, great reading with never-ending adventure and excitement that kept me awake way past bedtime. Okay, so critics, this person says, by page 30, I had thrown it on the floor in revulsion, and honestly, I wished I hadn't picked it up and discovered what happened on page 100, as I fear it may haunt me forever. Wow. So I have to say at this point that as I progressed in age, I did take a break from Wilbur Smith. There was a little bit more violence than I could stomach at the time. But I have put a picture over here of the book River God. I absolutely love that book, and I would definitely read it again. So here we're going to get on to some homework. But before we do the homework, let's just have a good look at each other again. So this is the part where you are going to do some things for yourself. I'm going to make you open up a profile and I'm going to ask you to start writing. Now, I just have to say to you that there is a mantra in our industry that says you can always edit rubbish, but you can't edit nothing. So I'm going to give you some homework that you can do a bit of writing. Don't worry, you do not have to submit your homework to me for testing, and there's no editors that are going to read it. You are going to self-edit using some of the free software that is available, and we're going to cover that now. So I really want to encourage you to find a topic and to take the homework seriously so that you can step into your author career. Let's get back to our slides. Okay, so I want you to open up a profile on Amazon.com, just a normal user profile. They are going to ask you to include some of your credit card details for future purchases. They will not use it. It is just for you to have it available in case you want to purchase an ebook or any of the other Amazon products. Once you've got the profile open, I want you to select two to four books from different authors. Now, Amazon allows you to view a sample of the book, to download it into the Kindle app, and to read those first few chapters without paying a cent. So that's what I want you to do, to find the books and read the free samples. Choose from your favorite author, or you can choose from people you've never heard of in your life before, because there's no risk. It's not going to cost you anything. Read each of the samples and make notes about what you like and dislike about the style of that particular author. Was it their description? Was it the dialogue that they had? Did you find that it took too long to get to the point? Did it have good action? Was it too violent? Come up with what you think you liked or disliked and jot that down. Then I'm going to ask you to open a free Pro Writing Aid profile. You can go onto the internet, find Pro Writing Aid, and then I suggest you can do this in Word. Write out 200 to 500 words, and it's very important that we do not more than 500 words, because Pro Writing Aid's free online version allows you to edit that work for free. And I say again, for free. So there is no risk for you. Pro Writing Aid has got a number of different reports that can work on your grammar, your style, overuse words, play around with the different reports that can come up over there. I want you to write 200 to 500 words on anything that you felt a reaction to on social media, the news, or a WhatsApp in the last few days. So, for example, how I feel about South Africa reopening the hunting industry in phase 3 of lockdown. Now, you might be pro-hunting. You might think that it is the most despicable thing on earth. You might feel that you should only eat meat if you are a hunter. You might feel it's incredibly unfair if other industries can't work. It doesn't matter what your personal preferences are. Just write about it. Forgive me. And then another thing that you can write on is binge watching on TV during lockdown healthy. A lot of people are doing it. A lot of TV companies, Netflix, all kinds of different streaming places are encouraging you to do binge watching at this time. Do you feel that it's healthy? Then something for parents, what I learned from homeschooling my kids. For you, it might be that I think that teachers are underpaid. It might be that I think that I am grateful that I haven't killed my children yet. It could be I am so happy that I get to see their development. Whatever you feel works for you, you can write about that. Again, after writing, copying and paste it into prowritingaid.com, and then you will get the editing done and you'll actually learn a lot. So a little bit of FaceTime again. Okay, so what I learned from Pro Writing Aid is that things that when I assumed things were going well, they actually weren't going well. But I also learned, because of the statistics that they had, that I was doing better than a lot of other people. And in the areas that I wasn't doing well, I could learn from the reports, because pro writing aid will suggest things to you. They will suggest the style that you can use. They will suggest other words that you can use. And if you've overused certain words, so you've started 5 sentences exactly the same way, Pro Writing Aid will tell you they've got a great thesaurus. So you actually learn how to be a writer for free without having a coach. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't get a coach. Get a coach. It makes a big difference. But when you're starting out and you don't have the budget for some of those expensive things, Pro Writing Aid can really help you. And I just want to say, I'm not paid by Pro Writing Aid to say this at all. I think they do have a loyalty program. I'm not on it at the moment. But it made a big difference to me and to my writing, because when I started, I didn't have the money for any of those things. So that's why I'm encouraging people to use it, because it's an absolutely excellent program. And when I took my writing and I copied and pasted it into other software and then put the same words into Pro Writing Aid, I noticed there was a phenomenally big difference in what the reporting did for me. So let's get on to the next section of your course. Okay. So our last section over here, if it will feel like getting there, is about rewrites. So rewrites are incredibly important. Let me explain to you why. Every story has a plot. You have to set the scene. There has to be character struggle, and the hero emerges. All great books have got character struggles. As the author, we have to sometimes rewrite the story to get maximum effect. And what I have to say to you is that you have to rewrite your story. So when I started out, I had a look at different books, what was really great about them and what happened to the characters. And I have to be honest, when there was a book where the characters seemed to have everything just going right, they never motivated me. The ones that motivated me were the ones where there was a character struggle. And all good writing coaches will tell you, come up with a minimum of 3 big struggles, conflicts that your characters have, because that will entice the readers. So struggles are part of life. When you are struggling right now, tell yourself this: everything that you've experienced up until now has brought you to a place where you can write something spectacular for your audience. I've got a lot of struggles from my life that are in my books, and people resonate with those struggles. So you are now the author of your life. Whatever those dreams were that you squashed in the past, whatever the tragedies or torments are that have led you up until those points, use them. It doesn't mean that you are a failure. It means that you have now got the material to write the most spectacular story that is going to entice people that, like you, need to have some encouragement. So thank you very much for participating in this course. I hope that you got something out of the homework, that you have learned about some of the challenges that you've had and how those can be a fuel for you and how they can hinder you. And if they're hindering you, I hope that you have learned something that can take you to the next level. Enjoy your writing, do your homework, and share it with a friend and ask them what they've thought about it. But do remember that your dreams are fragile at the moment. So share with people that actually want the best for you. And if they give you feedback that you're not perfectly happy with, tell yourself this: feedback is an excellent way to do quality control, that you can improve your writing. Thank you and have a spectacular day.